Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Club Call live. It is Wednesday, 11th of September. A few days before Everton go to Villa Park. Jack Ned has put the headline as, can Everton bounce back against Aston Villa? What are your feelings about that?
In a literal sense, can we? Yeah. In
Jack's
in a
world?
likely sense, probably not. Villa are a very good side, and look, I mentioned this earlier on the show with Ped, didn't I? And I said, you know, maybe Dyche always seems to start the season poor statistically. That's not me having a go at him. Just over his career, his record to start the season is not particularly strong, and maybe I can hear myself now. Okay, sounds, yeah. His record starting the season statistically is generally quite poor. I don't say that to have a go at him. It is just the way it is. Maybe, hopefully, coming after this international break, having kept the majority of the squads with the team training, we might come into this game looking a little bit fresher, looking a little bit more fluid. Now we are over, the sort of start of the season hump. That's the optimistic way of looking at it, but I think either way it's going to be a tough game because they are a good side, Villa.
Yeah, they're an excellent side, aren't they? And they've started off quite well, haven't they? Phil Gaming, who's one of our members on YouTube, says, I was enjoying the break without Evan. Crying face. That is it though, isn't it? Sophie doesn't think we can bounce back with Keane and Young, and JP Vanderberg says, please no Keane and Young, then maybe. I think it's going to be a difficult game, isn't it? No matter what, Everton are going to have to play incredibly well to get something from it. And we'll see where we go. We're going to have to take our chances. We're going to have to defend a whole lot better than what we did against Bournemouth, which was terrifying, let's be honest, the last 10 minutes of that game.
Well, it's an interesting bit for you. Would you go 5 at the back? Given, we went with that formation against them when we beat them in the Cup. Obviously they fielded the weakened sides as well, but we had success with the shape against Villa. So
if he goes with 3 at the back, you're saying Jake O'Brien might come in?
He'd have to, wouldn't he?
Unless, obviously, we'll know more tomorrow, but I imagine Jared Branthwaite's not going to be ready for this one, but you never know, the manager will confirm or not tomorrow whether Branthwaite will be there. So you're saying O'Brien will come in, right wing back. I doubt Seamus will be fit. So it would have to be Jack Harrison at right wing back.
Or James Garner.
Where would Harrison play then? Because Harrison will play
on the bench.
He's played probably one of our best players in the last game.
No, but it's about you.
Let's be honest. If he was playing 3 at the back with wing backs, Harrison would be the right wing back.
Well, you could easily play him there if you wanted to.
McNeil left wing back or Michalenko.
Well, you could go, if you really wanted to shake things up, go Michalenko as your left-sided centre half and put McNeil at left wing back.
Okay. And then you've got 3 in midfield of Tim Irabunam, Idrissa Gana-Gueye, and
we'll go James Garner if he's not a right wing back.
And then you'd have 2 up front with you, or you'd have Njai with off the striker.
I'd have Njai playing off him, yeah, just being able to drop in as well, especially if you needed to move one of your midfielders to cover either wing back. And then obviously Njai just buzzing around the striker because obviously he's played in those central areas before. I wouldn't go Dom and Beto up front. I think we've seen that partnership only a handful of times, but they had zero relationship on the pitch together. There was no chemistry there.
Before we carry on, John Textor has just been a bit out on Sky. I was waiting for this to be made public today. He has said if you're offered the chance to become owner of Everton, it's like being offered the chance to become the president of the United States. You take it. He's very interested in getting Everton. He feels like it's moving closer, which is good in one aspect of it, because we want a resolution to this. Until he can sort out the Crystal Palace thing, we don't know how much we can move forward. But he says all the right things, and I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is the bare minimum, really, for your prospective new owner to speak positively about the club and seem to want to buy the club. I think, if you're going to obviously be buying it with debt, obviously, but there's always a financial risk to doing that sort of deal. And if you're going to take that risk, you would assume they do want to own the club. But you're right, it's the right thing to say, isn't it? And I think if you've seen clips of him, obviously, talking about Botafogo, where he is very hands-on and he is very involved, he is a very passionate fella. So it's nice to see that might carry over towards Everton if he does become our owner. But it's the same story with Textor every time, isn't it? It's going to take a while, even if he does become our owner, because there's the Crystal Palace situation.
There is. Yeah, no, it's. I was given some of his quotes earlier on, and they are quite exciting in one respect, but in the other.
Just repeat that for the camera as well. What?
John Textor said he wants to get Everton to win the league, which is what we want an owner to say. Aim for the stars, and if you're at the moon, you've done all right and all that. So there'll be more of that, obviously. We'll get little snippets off Ped in a minute because he's monitoring that story as we go through it. Jet Year says, don't think Tarkowski's covered himself in glory in the first 3 games, needs to up his game. I think Tarkowski's playing with an injury. He was injured pre-season and he's not being fully fit yet, and he's played because he wants to give everything for Everton. Whether or not you blame him or the manager for that, I don't know, but he's put himself in there. He hasn't been as sharp as what he's been in his previous 2 seasons so far, but I don't think it's for the want of trying.
No, definitely not. But I do think even if there is good reason behind it, I think it is important to acknowledge that his performance hasn't been great because, if we are going to criticise the manager, for example, we do need to be fair. And if we're going to criticise Michael Keane's performance for playing, it's only fair to acknowledge, even if there is good reason behind it, Tahi's not been particularly brilliant either.
We have got Gaz, I think, is it? Oh, it's Alex. Gaz was up there. We've got Alex on the line. Hello, Alex. What do you want to say?
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can hear you, mate.
Cool. Wanted to talk about Sean Dyche.
Okay.
In some of the darkest periods, Baz, you've always been very positive about the fact that the squad's good enough not to go down. I just struggle with watching the games where we ship 10 goals.
Yeah.
Like, I can kind of get along with not playing the best football if it's, that season that Moyes had where we scored something, how many 1-0s did we get that season? I can kind of deal with that. But shipping goals like we've done, I kind of feel that the international breaks probably helped just to calm everyone down a bit after how bad it was. But I just look at some of the coaches that exist now, like the one at Palace, the one at Brighton. I know Brighton are really well run. I just wonder if it is just a changing of the guard with these type of managers, where we look at it and think, I don't want to have another coach necessarily, but if we carry on like this, I mean, like obviously Ped was on Sky Sports, and I thought it was brilliant that he stood up and said, no, it's not about the players, it's about the decisions made by the manager. Because everyone's like, oh, Dyche's great. Yeah, Everton, lucky to have him. And I know he's done a lot for us, being the face of the club through all the problems we've had. I respect him for that. But I just watch it and think, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And back to you, Baz, in times where I've seen this, you've gone, no, the team's good enough. If you go player for player, they're good enough. So we shouldn't expect to be top 6. But we shouldn't be fearing, that there's 3 teams that we should be confident there's 3 or 4 teams that are worse than us. And if that's what we need for the next couple of seasons, that's fine. But I just feel with Dyche at the moment that I kind of run my course with it. And when I look at these young managers, young coaches, I kind of feel that maybe we should just be taking that approach. And if that means wearing it out for a couple of seasons, and maybe that's what we need to do. And if we're going to go down anyways, wouldn't it be better to go down with a coach who could get us back up again pretty quickly with a better style of football, because what I'm watching at the moment, it ain't fun. Keen to get your thoughts.
Okay, well, I still feel Everton, nothing's really changed from what I thought in the summer. I think they're good enough to be between 11th and 14th. I think the squad is there. Granted, we haven't started the season very well. I think on Sean Dyche and that kind of manager, we probably are coming to the end of that cycle now. I'm not saying he's finished and he's done and all that. What I'm saying is that kind of manager, you've sort of look at him in like a David Moyes type, Sam Allardyce type, strong defensively, that kind of manager. The league has sort of changed. I think the whole of English football almost has kind of changed its model to a more attacking style. There's variations on all of it, of course. You don't have to be Pep Guardiola or at the other end of the scale, Tony Pulis. There's a lot in between. So yeah, I think you will, as clubs move forward, you'll see more of an attacking style from managers. Our manager's more of a cautious type of manager, and it's something, again, whether you sort of like Sean Dyche, you don't like Sean Dyche, I think he's not gonna change the way he does things. He's not gonna. Why would he? He's someone who's done a job a certain way, and his remit was just to keep Burnley in the league. And he was relegated twice in that, because regardless of whether he left or not before they went down, he put them in that position. He left in the April. In fact, when the other fella come in, they won games and gave himself a chance. So he took them down twice, but he also got them up, and he got them into Europe, and he kept them up because that was his remit. So he was doing his job, and he come into Everton at a very difficult time and all of that. But my frustration is, I'm going to Jack now, but my frustration is we can't just keep playing the next few months and going, well, he'll keep us up in the end. And this isn't on Sean Dyche, this I mean as a football club. We have to start pointing the other way and having this thing that the minute we get to the new stadium it all changes is almost like it's a nonsense. Things have to change now. Jack?
Yeah, and I think you're right in that, because I think a lot of the frustration with the manager isn't necessarily with the manager, if that makes sense. And to be fair to the managers, this isn't his fault, because like you say, he'll be getting told by the club, your job is to keep this club in the Premier League. That's what he was brought in for, and that's his bread and butter in terms of management. But I think what Sean Dyche represents to the Everton fan base is the struggle. Because he's a struggle manager, isn't he? He's a wartime manager. He's a manager that I think even... There's people with varying opinions on Sean Dyche, but I think even his biggest fans will admit that there's a ceiling on what he's capable of as a football manager, and his general purpose in football management is to come into struggling teams and try and get them to stay up, which overall he has a decent record of doing. In that time, if you look at Everton's struggle period at the start and when we hired Rafa Benitez, for example, if you look at the teams that we were ahead of at the start of that period that are now better than us, you look at teams like Brighton, who were, they were in the early stages of that, but they've gone well clear of us now. Newcastle, Fulham, you could make an argument for Crystal Palace, Villa. West Ham, Villa, a big one. And the idea of staying with Sean Dyche, even if he achieves his main goal of keeping us in the league this season, which I do think he'll do, I'm confident that we'll still be a Premier League club come this time next year. It's the idea that, okay, but it's another year lost. And that's not the manager's fault, because he's brought in to do a job, isn't he? But it's another year where we're not making that climb up the table. We're not taking that next step towards our end goal, which is every club's end goal, or at least what it should be, which is winning the league. Now, granted, we are way off that. We are way off it. But John Textor himself has just said, I want Everton to win the league. And even if that's step 100 in your 100-step plan, you have to be aiming to get there eventually. And another year of struggle is another year where you're making zero progress getting there and you're treading water again. And that's not the manager's fault, but it's what he represents, unfortunately.
Well, we're all just in that rut, aren't we? The biggest thing we need is the owner sort of, that situation sorted out first, and then you can go from that. But we can't keep losing games of football, that's for sure.
maybe another way of asking it is if you look at the players. Like one of the things I always had an issue with is Marco Silva comes in, we buy a Marco Silva style of player, then we almost we get the complete opposite of a manager, and half the squad can't then fit into that manager's way of playing.
Correct.
Do you think with Kevin Thelwell in the position he is that we're now buying the type of player, bar the quick right winger we never got? But if you look at the profile of the players, let's say over the last 2 or 3 windows, granted we haven't had money to spend, so we've been limited that way. But are you starting to see a profile of player, to Jack's point, that even though this season with Sean, where it may not necessarily be the most glamorous, and we might feel like we've lost a year, in keeping him, we are still developing a squad of players that fit the profile of Premier League player that we want for the future? Or do you think we are at risk of continually getting players that fit Dyche's way of playing, that in a year's time, if he was to leave, we're going to be hamstrung by having loads of players that don't play on good football? What's your view on that from a sort of Thelwell point of view?
I'm not convinced they're all Sean Dyche type players who he's brought in, to be honest. So maybe there is sort of a swing towards trying to get the right profile of player for Everton that can maybe do a couple of jobs. I think the problem, it's great bringing them in, and I wanted more of them, but the manager won't play them. That's an issue. And the manager, this is not me putting words in the manager's mouth. If you listen to the series that Julia Bold did, he literally says on that, if we're not on the same page, I just won't play the player. End of. Because obviously he's got a job to do. So it's a tough one, that one, to wonder if like, what are we doing? Someone like Jesper Lindstrom doesn't smack me as a Sean Dyche type player, but we've got him. So hopefully he can force his way into the plans. But Dan Juma never forced his way into the plans, did? And again, I'm not saying Sean Dyche was massively wrong on him. I'm just saying Dan Juma didn't.
You weren't interested in him, was he?
No, Dyche didn't really want him, did he? Didn't really give him a go. I think, I'll be honest, I don't think Irabunan would have played had James Garner been fit. I think he'd have been coming off the bench, but I don't think he'd have been in the team. It's difficult to say, obviously. Hopefully they do continue to buy and bring in players who can play across a few managers, because that's what you have to do. You can't. The first part for me of the club changing will be that thing of going, because this is what Brighton have done really well, haven't they? Brighton have bought a player, and you brought it up the other day, Jack, what the owner said about Roberto De Zerbi is like, he wanted his own type of players. And they're going, nah, mate, we're buying players for the way we play. And then when you replace De Zerbi, you go and get Fabian Herzler in, who plays a similar style, can work with those players. So it almost looks seamless. The same way as, in all fairness, the way De Zerbi come in and took Potter's players on. And if Everton do that, they'll save them big mistakes in transfer markets where you bring a player and he's not wanted and he's got a big contract and big money. You won't get a Frankenstein squad then of players that takes the managers going, well, this is the last fellas and I don't play like that. And the other thing is, you're giving the coach you're bringing in more chance of succeeding. And 4, if you want to do it as well, and I don't know whether I started at 8 and I've ended up at 4, but there you go. You're also making it your job more focused if you need to replace the coach, because you look and go, right, who plays similar to this coach, who can coach these players, right, he does, we can get him. Everton's issue, even when we appointed Sean Dyche, the 2 choices at the end were Sean Dyche or Bielsa, who are totally different managers. And no, it's like searching for a car and coming home with a bleeding push bike, you know what I mean? It's like opposite ends of the scale. Like, yeah, both of them still take you forward, but in a totally different way. So that's what Everton have to get away from. And hopefully we're seeing a little bit of that with what Kevin Thelwell's trying to do. I don't know if Kevin Thelwell's good enough. I don't know. Because he could turn around and go, I've got no support higher, sort of above me. Because ever since he came into the football club, there's been angst. He come in and the board couldn't stay much longer. In fact, the board have never been to a game at Goodison Park, that other board, while Kevin Thelwell was the director of football.
No.
And then we've got an interim board, so that's how difficult it's been sort of for him, Jack. Anything else you add?
Yeah, I mean, I've used this phrase a couple of times in regard to Thelwell, but it is essentially trying to furnish a house while only shopping on Facebook Marketplace, isn't it? It's You're looking for the greatest value for money rather than the greatest product, and paired Kevin Thelwell with a more forward-thinking, attacking-minded manager and an owner with, you know, more money, you can put more money in, and a club who's not hamstrung by PSR. Maybe things aren't any better. Maybe he is limited, and that's why he's not got to this level in his career before, and he was previously at Wolves. We don't know. It is going to be a big Everton what if, isn't it, for the next few years? What would these transfer windows have been like had we had money and we were able to spend it and we had a different profile of manager? So we aren't going to know until we're in a position to actually spend money, and that owner, that is going to change if we get a new owner, isn't it? And that owner might decide he wants to work with a different director of football. So we're just not going to know, are we? And the thing with Thelwell, for me, the main sticking point is that I like a lot of the players he has bought or we have brought in under Thelwell. Not all of them have worked, but I think generally we've signed a decent quality of player. Again, I'd say the same about this window. I like all the signings that we've made. I just don't know if they're all the right signings for this manager.
Fair points. Well, only time will tell, mate, but I do feel like, I think, put it this way, I feel like our players are much better than the results we've got so far.
I was going to ask that just as we finish. I was saying, if you were to look at the games and take away just how painful the opening game was, and obviously those last 7 minutes, would you actually look at those on the balance of some of the performances last season where we actually did get results and go, do you know what, we're not as bad as it feels? You know, there is some cause for. It may not be that it happens at Villa, but you look at it and go, do you know what, like, it's not as bad as it feels. It's just obviously when you lose a game like you lost at Bournemouth after looking so good, it's always going to feel bad. But actually, on the balance of it, we're not as bad as that. Just stick to it, and it'll get better. Do you feel that?
I don't know. It's the truth. I could sit here and try to give a really, really positive spin on it. I could, because do I believe the manager's getting the best out of these players right now? No. 5 wins in 9 months tells you that. We've won 5 games of football since December the 16th. I can't reiterate that enough. It's such a terrible, terrible record. 3 of them came in 6 days. It's astonishing that I as an Evertonian, old enough to have seen us win the league, this run we are on astounds me that there's not, that our greatest ever manager was nearly, forced out the football club. He didn't have a run anywhere near this bad, ever. And he had terrible things. Kendall didn't have any money. Any money. Do you know what I mean? And listen, things happened and all that, of course. And Sean Dyche has had a horrible hand to play since he came in, because of all the other nonsense that has gone on at my football club, our football club. But it doesn't excuse 5 wins in 9 months. And I think even he would say that record's terrible, regardless of whether he could hit you with lots of problems that we don't know about, of course. But that can't be acceptable to anyone, surely, winning 5 games of football in 9 months. It blows my mind. So that's where we are. The players, we've got good players. I think he needs to be a little bit more adventurous at times. But I also think, just because of the type of manager he is, I think he's got to sort of, and I understand a lot of managers stick to what they do, and that's fine if that's how they're football managers. But the league has moved on, and it's moved on even just to the fact, Jack, that clubs can make 5 subs in a game, even just for freshness for the last 15, 20 minutes. And that is where Everton lost the last game.
Well, yeah, and that is something that was different a few years ago.
That's
and
totally
was
different, yeah.
different in earlier in this manager's career, and he's worked with teams that have small squads where he might only need to make one substitution a game, but you constantly have to be adapting, whether it is to real changes or whether it's just a new pattern to play in the game. And I think the worst thing you can do in football is stand still.
Yeah.
Because if you stand still and everyone else is moving forward, that's what we've done as a club. We've stood still. And Fulham, Villa, Palace, Brighton and the rest
Well,
have
we've
all
gone
lapped
backwards.
us.
Let's be honest, we've gone backwards.
Well, yeah,
and
that's not helped
they've
either.
moved forward. But listen, who knows? We've got a tough
Des.
game. We've got a tough game at the weekend, and the manager's had, we'll have had 2 weeks to think about that Bournemouth game, and I'm sure they'll come up with a plan. Now that'll try and get a result against a very, very good side at the weekend, and we won there in the cup last year.
Yep.
Who knows, mate? What happens? But we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see.
Cheers, lads, for having me on.
No
Nice
worries.
one, Alan.
Thank you
Keep
very
flying the
much.
flag.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.
See
Nice
you later.
one.
Ta-ra. I've just got a couple of quotes from John Textor. There's a bigger thing around this. I'm sure people are reading it and watching it. In the mindset of a fan of a formerly great club, Everton and Botafogo, no disrespect to Crystal Palace, they're wonderful, their fans are incredibly supportive, but they've never had that sense of greatness and being on top and then losing it. It's like Milton's book, Paradise Lost. You don't understand evil until you've understand pure goodness and enjoyed great success. He also says it's a really attractive club. It's an attractive community. Economically, it's a great opportunity because of the investment made by others. The failure of others is that the blessing that we get to walk into. This is something that I keep repeating. Some fans are on board with it. Some fans aren't. I wouldn't tell any Evertonian how to think. We're all living our own experience of the football club we love. But me, and what is at the front of my mind always, is that I've seen us be the very best, and I don't understand why we aren't striving to be the very best. Again, we might not get there, of course, but where this thing of settling for 17th has come from in our fan base, I will never know. What is the point of just hoping you can get 17th year after year to be in a league that you go 9 months and win 5 games? That can't be a level. And I'll just reiterate, it doesn't automatically just reset once we walk into the new stadium. It really doesn't. So I welcome his quotes. That to me, that is what I want to hear. If you can walk the talk, brilliant. Right? But that's what I want to hear from my football club, and I haven't heard that for a while.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? And look, you've got to be realistic. You can't, even if your goals are to win the league, it's like I said before, that can be step 100 in your 100-step plan. And
as long as there's a plan, Jack, there hasn't been a plan.
And I wouldn't, if this Everton team somehow in some way finished second this year, I wouldn't go, well, they haven't won the league, so it's failure. You know what I mean? And that's not, mate,
come on.
That's not what you're saying, is it?
10th is progress this season.
But while you're being realistic, you have got to have an eye on ambition, haven't you? And look at that next step. And what's the next step forward? You mentioned Howard Kendall being criticised by fans, greatest manager ever. That was a few years after we were very successful as a club. And the further away you get from success, the more people will settle for mediocrity.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Eddie. Eddie, hello, how are you? And what do you want to say?
Hello, guys. How are you guys doing?
You all right, Ed?
All right, mate. Not too bad. Not too bad.
So I have 2 things here. So the first one is, I don't know, I joined a little late, so I don't know if anyone's talked about the whole Uzmov, suing Mashiri thing yet.
Right. No.
So at least based off what I've read, my understanding is that he's suing Mashiri's holding company. Would you guys know if that has any impact with how that would affect our potential sales? Would we owe money to Uzmov instead of Mashiri? Or
no. According to people who are much better informed than what we are here, it's got nothing to do with Everton and wouldn't affect it in the slightest.
Okay, so it wouldn't affect us in a takeover here, because the news reports all say oh, this could affect Everton's ability of getting bought because of this, and I didn't see it, but okay, that's more reassuring.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, mate, it's there's nothing in it. It sits between them.
Yeah, I think the worry would have been whoever bought the club, for example, if Moshiri gets a payoff from that, the worry would have been they were indirectly paying money to a sanctioned Russian oligarch who's obviously sanctioned by the UK, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as that, really, is it? And if it's a lot of it's already been taken care of already.
It was just easy. It's easy clicks, isn't it? It was the same as, this court case, Everton will be and all that. It was just all nonsense. But anyway, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the next one's a little more, I would say, is a little. I think it's funny because I was watching, like Barkley's like reruns of like great players on X and Twitter, and then there was like a made up one for like Umar Niasse. And would you think Umar would get back into this team if he, when he played for Everton, would his ability be good enough to get into the team right now? I guess. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yeah. I'm going to say no, but...
Because he scored 8 goals.
He did.
I'm going
to say, I mean, I like Beto. Do I fully buy into whether he could repeat what Niasse does? I don't know. The thing about Umar Niasse, he eventually forced himself into the team for a run of games, didn't he? And scored goals. The thing that Umar had, what probably Beto hasn't fully got, is Umar had unbelievable work ethic, because to make up for not having a fantastic first touch, so we keep it nice and calm that way. Got some big goals for Evan, important goals. One, ironically, the Bournemouth game at home when Josh King put them 1-0 up. He gets 2 massive goals that wins us a game and gives Koeman a stay of execution. Even though, Koeman was sacked after losing 3 games or whatever it was, 3 and 4 games, and that wasn't deemed good enough in them days. Niasse was incredibly hard work, and Jack got some big goals, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but...
Would he get in this side now, Eddie's asking you?
No, I mean, he's skinny Beto, isn't he? And that's Beto whose best traits are his physical ones. So, no, very hard worker, but very little to say outside of that. And even though we aren't blessed with goals currently, I think you need more than that as a Premier League striker. I mean, don't get me wrong, 8 goals is, it would have made him joint top scorer last season, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But I think he did play with some better players as well, or more creative players.
And the Premier League,
at least,
the defenders have got better in them 8 years, 7 or 8 years since he played for us, haven't he?
Well, I think the standard of the football has leaned to more defensive stability, definitely, yeah. So,
and technicality up there of a legend is... the strikers have to have a better first touch now, and that's probably what Beto's suffering from a little bit at the minute, is getting that touch tight the minute it's played into him. Interesting though, Ed. Interesting question.
Yeah, no, I saw that, and the highlights made him look really good. I forgot they don't show how he played most times. His touches.
No, he had big moments.
Yeah,
we shouldn't rewrite them. He had some big moments for us that season. Absolutely, he did.
Yeah, well, that was all I really wanted to talk about.
That's okay.
The super moments. Thank you, guys.
Nice one, Ed.
Nice one, Ed. Look after yourself.
Thank you. You too.
Take care. Bye. Cheers, pal. See you now. Big Eddie there. California, is he, Eddie? Texas.
Quite damning of our current striker situation, though, that there is an argument for Niasse.
There's a question. Well, the thing is, we haven't... Yusuf Tumiti, who finished the season looking decent, played at Sligo and scored 2 goals and then got injured at Salford, has been out since the second pre-season game. And we know that he is more refined than Beto. And obviously we've got Armando Breuer, who's come in as well, and he's injured at the minute, so, which we knew, it's no surprise. We'll have to just wait and see. I just wanted to tackle this one from Bob the Blue. Don't know why you're sucking up to Textor. If he buys Everton, we will be saddled with 1 billion of debt at 10%.
Well, I was just... Ned, you got me on, yeah? Well, I was just going to give you some... Can I just pause?
I don't know who's sucking up to Textor, that's a mad take on saying, I like what someone's saying. That's a really mad take, but that's fine. Like I said last week, there's no, well, Jack said it, no scout chic, and no one else wants it. So what do we do, Bob?
Ped? Yeah, just to give you some more of the context of what he said. He basically said, he was asked about the new ground and whether that was pivotal, and he actually said that he was at the game when we won 3-2. And he said that the Goodison was like, he thought it was weird, but he also said it was brilliant. So he said even if we weren't moving, he would buy the club. Again, that's up to you whether you believe more or not on that one.
What did he mean by weird, I wonder?
Like he said it was like Fenway Park.
Oh.
So it's an old-fashioned ground that's made up of like different bits.
Yeah.
And he found that a bit weird, but obviously with a charm.
Yeah.
So he said the ground's not. He said that financially Everton don't need many money right now. He said he will need. I think he said he might need money to finish off the ground. Which I believe
that's bits and pieces.
People will be running for the hills of that news.
No, I was told, just for clarity, I was told that this morning, and it's buttons apparently. So there's no worry with that.
Well, it's interior stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interior. The ground's built.
Yeah.
He said that there are bidders, and he should know in the next couple of weeks about Crystal Palace. There are serious people. He said the deadline for buying Everton is November the 30th. So I don't know whether that is part of an exclusivity agreement or a gentleman's agreement. You know, Everton haven't mentioned exclusivity period. He sort of has. Mafsheeri's hinted at it. It's sort of one of those things that's never been really said by anyone involved, but clearly there is some kind of agreement.
So, I think it's more likely to be a gentleman's agreement.
So that's the November the 30th, he said. And he said he talks very much like someone who's already bought the club, funny enough. He's asked about Sean Dyche, and he said, basically, he hasn't said anything about Sean Dyche. He said he doesn't know him, but he said his record's really good for what he does. And he said in Brazilian football, he has to put up with a lot of mischief making. People like saying they're going to do something when they're not, to get rivalries going and all this kind of thing. So he said he's used to anything, that's where it comes from. He said about the fans, he's like, yeah, the expectations are huge. He said, but I've got that at Lyon. Lyon won the league 7 years in a row. And he said, so I'm used to people having big expectations. And he's like, I think he's basically saying that's part, if you're going to have a club that does those kind of things, is, you know, as got traditions, you're going to have people who've got those feelings. So it's a lot of positive sound bites. I'm a little bit like what that guy just said there, though. What I don't want to be is a club that is bought with debt, and then he takes a company public and makes a lot of money from that company. Clearly, he sees us as, again, a major part of being able to take the Eagle company public, and obviously because he's a major shareholder in that, he would make a lot of money from that straight away. Again, there's no proof that that's going to happen. I just don't want it to happen by anybody, by the way, because if that's how Americans, or, you know, that was sort of like what 777 were looking to try and do, except it wasn't. I don't think it was necessarily about going public. But his dream is to take, he said it, he's a capitalist, that's what he wants to do. He wants to take his company public. That's like the dream of all capitalists. Let the public buy the shares, and then because he owns the shares now, he will make billions of pounds, essentially. It's basically getting your reward for all your hard work, isn't it, in the capitalist world. If we are a major part of that, I really hope that's not done with us being saddled with debt, because again, that would be someone benefiting from something that we are saddled with. So if he was to come in and buy us with real money, you know, and he certainly said he can do that, then fair play. I've got no problem. But I just don't want anyone loading us with any more debt, because we've got enough debt. We don't want any more debt. We want someone to take the debt off us, clearly, and he would have to take the debt off us straight.
Well, he can't get it without taking some of the debt off it.
But I don't want it to turn into a situation, you know, where someone says, "Oh, because we've got the stadium or anything." So, listen, it's all good talk. It's all good sound bites. It's very, very positive. But again, the proof is in the pudding, and people that haven't had that, he's got till the 30th of November to get it sorted. The ball's in his court now. He's basically said, he says in it, I don't want to leave Mashiri with a bad deal. So he's saying, I can do this deal. I'm going to sort my Palace shares out in the next couple of weeks. And I've got till the 30th of November. And actually, I'm looking at the transfer window in January. So it is all very, very positive. It's a good time to do it because you're in an international week. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We've been here before.
Yeah.
And what we don't want to be here is, again, we want to get something sorted. And I understand anyone having the doubts. I have my doubts, and I've just explained why I have my doubts. So let's see what happens.
Sound. I'm certainly not dancing. I just like that someone wants that ambition. I want that at my football club. I want someone to come in and go, no. These fans have got every right to demand better. They've got every right, and we're aiming for the top, and that's what, and we'll do with a plan. Because guess what? Having a plan means we're already 100 times better than what football club we are at this moment.
And that applies to any owner who'd buy the club. And we also said that was the bare minimum, to be fair. So
yeah, exactly. So that's where we are. Listen, I said before, I want someone who's got money falling out of them, but none of them have shown the hand. Not one of them. Now, someone could come in at the last second. Where are they?
Let me just play this to you.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, this is about 2 minutes long, so hang on. My mic on, Ned?
Yeah. Your question may have been about finances, may have been about competition, so I'll answer both. The acquisition of Everton, the potential acquisition of Everton would be funded by new equity that I'm investing. That contract, it's very important to understand that contract, as it's being contemplated and drafted, is with myself as the buyer, not Eagle Football Holdings in the UK, not Eagle Football Group in France. So the buyer of Everton is John Textor, ostensibly. I hate to talk about myself in third person, but I'm trying to be clear. And so we're forming a new holding company called Everton Football Group, and I'm the principal buyer of that group. I have invited a couple of other friends with terrific resources that will support that acquisition. It's contemplated that I'll be the majority shareholder of that small holding company. So expected to be highly collaborative with Olympic Lyonnais and the other clubs of Eagle Football Group, but legally very separate. So in that sense, it will have no impact on the financials of Eagle Football Holdings or the French company Eagle Football Group or Olympic Lyonnais Sassou. It's just a great collaborative partner, and the acquisition of that is going to be separately financed with no debt, with 100% equity. It's just a straight equity purchase of the shares of Everton Football Group, if it happens. While I like to feel it's greater than 90% probability, I'm not the owner of Everton Football Club, and he still has plenty of options.
So that's not the Sky interview, by the way. That's something he's done at a Lyon press conference. I think that might be a couple of weeks old, but there's a bit of context.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So straight away, I think what happened, Bob the Blue, was he heard your comments and he very quickly phoned Ped and has just answered your question.
It is the club call.
It's club call.
There you go.
And this is where you go for it. Right, we're going to Mike, who's been patiently waiting on the line. Good evening, Mike, and what do you want to say?
Hello, lads, you all right?
Yeah, not bad, mate.
Just you, this one, Barry.
Okay.
How dare you? How dare you have optimism that Everton could be bought by somebody and actually win the league? How dare you, mate? Come on.
I know, mate. I apologise, mate. I apologise.
Your optimism's killing me, you know what I mean?
That's literally just happened.
Say it again. Sorry, Ped was telling me that.
Your optimism's killing me, mate.
I apologise. But Mike, come on. You sound like a man who's seen Everton be good. we should have these? Should we not have these standards? Or am I
No,
crazy?
No,
We
mate,
shouldn't.
No,
Okay.
no, you shouldn't have these standards out there. You're an Evertonian. Get back in your box. We should be happy with just staying up and being in the shit all over the ground, wouldn't it?
Hey, some people would have you believe that they're Evertonians and feel like that, mate, to be fair.
Really?
They're not many, by the way, but a few.
Yeah, well, it's scandalous. You know, you're thinking, oh my God, oh, John Textor. Mate, I literally, go ahead then. That guy sounds absolutely fantastic. He's saying everything that I want to hear.
Yeah.
He wants to come and tickle me balls, he can do that as well.
I might. But fair play.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, isn't it? It's like, no. What I actually want to do is I actually want to get them into Europe and doing a bit what? Oh no, how dare people think this? Oh my God, you're Everton, get back in your box.
No, you're right. But the sad part is sometimes it's fans of our own club or supposed fans of our own club that question that, but I just wonder where that's come from, because it's not a narrative. If I sort of decided now that Everton basically was just existing for the rest of my time on this earth, I would start questioning whether to go the game again. I love Everton, will always love them, and I'll always, but you know what I mean? If it's like, if there's zero ambition and all it is to bend over for every other club and hope we get 38 points every year, what is that? Really, what is that? We've all got a dream. Football's about dreaming and perception.
Well, what's the point?
Exactly.
What's the point?
Exactly. You've got to have dreams, haven't you? You've got to have dreams. Otherwise, what's the point?
Our fucking fans are mental, mate. Honest to God, they really need to go see the doctor and go on some a trizepam or whatever it's called, antidepressants. Wake up. Right, we've got a brand new stadium. Okay, we're crap at the moment. We've lost 3 games. Get the fuck over it. And you're gonna bleep me. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but it's absolutely frustrating, and it's 7 o'clock where I am. Yeah, get round, can't I?
Yeah, you're further on than us yet. We've still got the 6 o'clock, the 6 o'clock deadline.
Mate, honest to God, the amount of crap, I just stopped listening to it now. I stopped listening to it because it's like, oh my God, in the end there's 9 and World War 3 and they're going to have to send Everton. I really hope they're not going to have to send Everton players to Russia. Jesus Christ, we'd be screwed.
Well, what do you think Saturday then? Have we got any chance or what?
Against Villa?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mate, honest to God, right, I see the same mistakes in Villa that I see in us. There's one thing we need to really start doing, and that's grabbing the strikers, banging the friggin' heads together, and going, there's the goal. do you remember that video years ago where they were like behind the goal with the arrows trying to show them where the goal is? Ped, can we not do that? Can we not do that in the glass, mate?
He's not listening. He's not on, so we can't hear you. But I'll ask him after it. If he fancies having an arrow that points to the goal.
Arrow and show them where the frigging goal is. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hey. And watch bloody Onana come back and score a bloody brace against us.
Well, he's been good. I said he's a good player. He's playing in a good side, so fair play to him. But
again, our fans are absolutely deluded. Oh, we fucking shite. It's like, oh my God, really? Have you seen the dross that we've got on our midfield? Literally replaced Garner with Garner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, come on. Yeah. I was waiting for them to bring Lukaku back, and I'm literally going to go, right, that's it, I'm done.
They still scored more than our strikers, to be fair.
He would have, but we've still been replacing Lukaku with Lukaku.
Yeah.
The only one I want back at the moment is the Ginger Ninja.
Who's not so ginger anymore.
We can buy him here, there's an Omen bargain down the road.
Yeah. There is actually. It's not that far from here. There's a B&M.
Yeah,
You probably get stuff.
I used to live right by the ground, mate. Yeah, go on.
You'll be all right. But no, listen, we'll just have to get out there Saturday, dig in, don't give cheap goals away, and then you never know. Then you never know what happens from there.
Mate, you just absolutely screwed everything up. Yeah, don't give cheap goals away. Oh my God, yeah. There's a jinx. There's a jinx if you've ever heard one. Is Michael Keane playing?
I would imagine, unless the manager's got some really shocking, surprising, positive news, that Jarrad Branthwaite's available, because I don't think he's not going to take Michael Keane out for Jake O'Brien. It doesn't seem like. So therefore, it would have to be Jarrad Branthwaite fit, I think, before Keane comes out. So we'll know more tomorrow when he's done his press conference.
Can we not stick Dom at centre back, because he seems to be able to header a ball?
Well, yeah, he's off the mark now after the last game.
Nice, like, do you know what I mean?
I know.
How's your water polo going anyway, mate?
I haven't played it for a while. I'm missing it, to be honest. That was like 4 months ago, so I'm a bit out of touch now.
Oh, so you didn't get into the Olympic squad?
No, I wasn't at that level, to be honest. It's a height issue. The pool's over my head almost, so can be a problem.
Right, you have a lovely night. And Jack, I've been in touch with my army of snails, mate, and they're coming for you.
No, but I didn't take the money, so they can't come after me.
Oh, no, that's all right, mate. You've already insulted them. They're after you.
They have to book a flight then, won't I?
You have a good night.
All right, mate. Take care, mate.
Bye, mate.
See you later.
Bye.
Ta-ra, pal. Ta-ra. Ever colourful Mike there. With he's right though, isn't he? We've got to have those. We've got to maintain those standards of wanting to be successful. Otherwise, if we don't do it as a fan base, who's going to do it?
It's the basic premise of football as well, innit? And even if you are looking 100 steps down the line, you should be aiming to win the league eventually. But it's years of being mediocre, isn't it? It's years of settling for being mediocre.
People used to moan at the thought of Everton being 10th. I remember Phil Neville saying Everton do well if they finish in the top 10, and there was literally fallout. He was basically Satan at that time.
But you know what happened?
But we were even better than that. He was just saying it, and we were 7th and 8th. There was a fallout of unbelievable proportion when he said that. Now, people are basically celebrating us being 17th. I can't get my head around it.
But you know what happens? We stopped finishing in the top 10, so it became the standard, didn't it? And I don't agree with that. I'm not saying that's right. But our performance fell and our standards fell with it, and that's been happening for years and years.
But that's why I'm saying
it's hit a new low, hasn't it?
We have to drag that back up, and we're seeing it with like the 1878 trying to get atmosphere going again. We saw it with obviously the bus welcomes and stuff. The fans had to get back together, and it's fractured again a little bit. We have to sort of get that back a little bit. I just think we need to raise these standards, and I won't have anybody telling us that, you know, we expect too much at this football club. And John Textor, whether you want him, don't want him, it is all, until he owns the football club and starts doing it, it's easy to talk. I understand that, but that's what I want to hear. I want to hear an owner who's going, you sort of don't realise that, like, this club's huge. This club has been successful. This club should be trying to win things. And I hope it shakes a few of our fans up to go, actually, yeah, we should be demanding stuff. We shouldn't be patting people on the back for winning 5 games in 9 months, or for Frank Lampard for, you know, winning a few home games and patting him on the back, or whoever in the past. We've got to be, you know, Martinez patting them on the back for finishing mid-table when you go and look at that Everton team that he had. It was a really good side with a 25 goal a season centre forward. And yet we sort of like, people were a bit like, look, Bobby's great and all that. We have to, it's not about the individual.
You have to remember who you are, don't you? You have to remember who you are.
That's why that lot, even though, you know, whatever, you can't fault the fact that even when they were finishing 7th and 8th, they were still talking like they were the best team in the world. And they weren't, but they still tell you, whenever they sign a player, they're the best player in that position. Oh, they're the best player in the world. they're the best player. You know, bloody Gravenberg, who they all wanted out in the summer, now is unbelievable. No one could play that position. Like, you know what I mean? And
it's not even about Liverpool for me, though. It's about...
No, but what I'm using them is they were trying to maintain them standards.
Well, we've got standards, haven't we? And we've got to have standards of our own. And like I keep saying, you can acknowledge that it will take time to get there. I'm not trying to say that, you know, it has to be tomorrow that we win the league.
I'm not saying that.
No, of course not.
That's the aim.
Of course not. But just so no one tries taking it out of context.
No.
Or anything, but, you know, it has to be, you should always be aiming to keep taking that next step up until you can't get any higher. And obviously we're starting from further back than other clubs might be, but we have to start moving in that direction.
Are we starting further back from where Villa were when they were in the Championship?
No, but I mean, we're starting further back from the teams that are actually there right now, is what I mean.
I'm only saying that because Will said... Will, I think's a Villa fan, said Villa's owners came in, said straight away they wanted to return Villa to its original glory days, had a 5-year plan for Champions League. Following summer, we were nearly liquidated under a transfer embargo after losing the playoff final. And here we are, they're in the Champions League. They've been fabulous, Villa, under Emery. They've been brilliant. And they've had a really strong summer recruitment, I think, as well. Okay, you can always pick holes and go, they could have got them, but you can't do it all that quick, and especially with PSR. It can be done. And Villa, a similar size club to Everton, both have had great days gone by. We should be using them as a beacon of hope and going, well, you know what? But they got all of it right, and that's what Everton have to do. Everton have to get... Me and you talked today about, and even at the start of this, about the recruitment and what we're doing. That's what you have to do, recruit really well. Something Newcastle were able to just survive relegation and finish in the Champions League because they wasn't amazing recruitment. No one was going, oh, why didn't Man City get Dan Burn? Do you know what I mean? But Newcastle went, we need to do this, and they got Trippier in, and bang, and all of a sudden things went that way and they've improved. We can do it. We should be looking for that position that I said I think this team can finish in, which is 11th to 14th. We should be looking for that this year. 17 shouldn't be an option. Saying, oh, it doesn't matter if, you know, Sean Dyche keeps losing games because in May we'll probably still be all right. That's not what Everton should be. And that's not just on Sean Dyche, by the way. I'm just saying.
It's the entire
club,
isn't it?
That should never be our sort of psyche. Whether it's Sean Dyche, Carlo Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola, whoever, the next great manager, we shouldn't be going, we can lose all of these games because in the end it'll be all right. Because it can't be like that. We have to, even if sometimes you will lose 3 games on the run, of course you will. No one's perfect. You'll have those moments. Man City lost 2 games in a week last season. Wolves and whoever, they lost 2 away games, wasn't it, on the run in a week, and they still went on and won the league. So it's not the end of it. But you'd have to see that little bit of progress. And I want us trying to drag ourselves away from the very depressing thing that just seems to be what Ped once coined as the circle of shite, because that seems where we are right now. So we have to be able to get out of that.
No, and you can only keep circling the drain for so long, can't you?
Got to be an upturn or you go, don't you?
You know, you look back to, even if we don't end up going down and we just spend the next 10 years fighting relegation, I look at clubs that at some point or another may have been considered not massively smaller than Everton. And clubs like Leeds, clubs like Blackburn that have won the league before and have had big players before and have big fan bases. They spent years fighting relegation and eventually went down and were down for a very long time as well. And to this current generation of fans, like myself included, that's what those clubs are. For you, it's obviously different, but I've grew up with clubs like Leeds, clubs like Blackburn being in the Championship. So to me, I naturally think of them as Championship clubs.
Leeds were always, they were in.
No,
when I started going, they were in the first division, then they were gone. And then they come back and had 6 or 7, they come back for about 10, 11 years and then went again.
Do you know what I'm saying? No, you will judge football clubs based off what they're doing in your lifetime. And to
Sheffield Wednesday were always a big club.
To a generation of football fans right now, Everton are a club that fights relegation, even though it's only been a couple of years.
I'm going to say, if you
this club's massive history,
15 years, which would take you back to age 8, 9. Everton have been fighting relegation 3 of those 15 years. The rest of the time they've been top 8.
What I'm
or
saying is,
mid, you know what I mean?
in terms of fans who started watching 4 or 5 years ago,
of
the
course,
younger
the last 3
generation,
years,
they're
struggled.
growing up with that.
Yeah.
And if that continues, then a generation of football fans will view us as a Sunderland, as a Blackburn, as a Fulham, as a Norwich.
Absolutely.
And we're bigger than that.
Ian, who's one of our members on YouTube, says, totally agree with the comments. Some, not all of our fan base, are content with just staying up, staying at Goodison and carrying on as we are. I think, for one, we need a down top change. Simon thinks Everton's settled for mediocrity. Absolutely. John Blaine is in the comments, says we can't aim for a league position per se, but we can aim for a points target, and the position is what that delivers. Less than 48 points this season, the manager has failed. That's what he got last season. So that's how how do you manage progress? You can only John's right, really. You can't go we're going to be top this year, because you don't know what top will be.
Theoretically, you could win the league with 50 points, couldn't you? Theoretically, yeah.
But if you look at, Moyes was here. Moyes used to go 40 points, didn't he? Because Joe Royle found that years and years before. So 40 points became, once you get that, we're okay. You don't know where that 40 points put you. 40 points might have put you 17th. It might have put you 13th on the season, a mad season. So you have to look at points. John's right, points totals are right. Sean Dyche got 48 points last year. Forget about the points deductions. He won 48 points last season. The minimum he has to get this season is 48 points. Tommy, that's nonsense. Everton ain't getting any. That's nonsense, mate. Honestly, I'm sorry for that.
What aren't we getting?
Anywhere near 48 points. That's nonsense. So I'm not even going to go into it. Having 5 months without a win last season and still finishing with 48 points. It's neither here nor there. Everton could get 50-odd points this season. They could get 37. Who knows, right? I don't think you can say one way or the other what they're getting and what they're not getting. You've got to be aiming to get at least the same points as you got last season, if not more. Because if I'm the manager, I can't criticise him if he gets 48 points again. Because 48 points this season would put Everton between 11th and 13th, 14th, 15th, whatever, probably higher than that. And then you would turn around and go, well, all right, I finished 11th, so that's progress. But you can't keep losing. You can't keep going, losing games. We're losing games. Oh, but we're all right because we'll get there. You can't do that. Everton can't go in clusters again and go, we'll win 4 games in 3 weeks, and then we won't win for 4 months. Then we'll win 5 games in 2 weeks, and then we can't. That's not how it can't be like that. There has to be some consistency, and we keep saying 4 points a month keeps you up, gets you 40 points.
I think realistically, you've got to set out to win every week. Now, granted, no team's ever going to do that. But the more often you do win, the more you can, when you do face a loss, you can go, you know what, it's not the end of the world, because we did well last week, and actually I'm confident we can do well next week. The more positive reaffirmation you've got, I can have faith in this team, rather than just blind faith in the idea that, no, it's my team, I've got to back them through thick and thin, which of course you will, but you've actually got something solid to go off, because you won last week and the week before, and you're confident you can go and win next week because you've done that. And the more often that you do that, the more often you can let a loss not bother you as much.
Absolutely. Right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you everyone who phoned in. Thank you everyone who's watched, commented. Thanks to all the YouTube members who've become members over the last week or so. Been loads. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you all for that. Thanks to all our Premier members. We will see you all tomorrow. Don't forget, the live Toffee TV live tomorrow will be at 2 o'clock, because the manager has got his press conference at 1:30. So don't be coming on at 1 and looking for it, because it won't be on till 2. M-Tag Daily Live is on at 12:30 tomorrow. So if you want to come on and do M-Tag Daily Live with us, it is at 12:30, because we've got a guest on as well, and because of the press conference and all that. Thank you, everybody. Take care. See you later.